Welcome, everybody, to another wellness podcast at Optimal Bio. Today, we have a treat, literally. We are talking to the founder and owner of Tasty as Fit, Emilie Blanchard. Joining us today, in addition to that, is Tyler Brannon. And I thought we'd jump right in and begin the podcast. So, Emilie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us this morning. Why don't you tell the group a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. So, hey, everybody, I'm Emilie Blanchard, and I am the owner of Tasty as Fit, which is now 2 grab and go locations, all plant-based, all gluten-free. We have our flagship store. I call it flagship. It's the smallest, but it's the original in Columbia, South Carolina. And our second location is in Greenville, South Carolina, and that opened this past January. And I also run the Tasty as Fit Instagram account, which honestly spurred this whole entire business. And yeah, that's pretty much a sum up of me. No prior training, no food training or anything like that. Truly just out of a passion for food. And, I like to say good timing. So here we are today.
So I can't let you off that easily. There had to be something that occurred while you're doing your Instagram, or you're doing something that spurred you on to do this, especially with no food training. Usually you hear about people, going to culinary school and right, doing other things. So what happened?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great point. I wish I went to culinary school. I would have loved that. I was actually a broadcast journalism major and moved to New York for about 5 years after college and dabbled in that. And I was also, to supplement that, I was a trainer at a fitness studio. So I definitely I grew up an athlete, so always was kind of like paying attention to what goes in my body affects how I perform. But when I moved to New York and really kind of dove into that world, it was New York's at the forefront of every food trend. This was back in 2013, 14, 15. Plant-based was really coming up on the scene. And so I really got to just experience firsthand how that trend just really took off. Every corner had a new smoothie, juice, build your own bowl, type of restaurant. So, or grab and go place. So I really, no thoughts whatsoever in ever opening one. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And, with a lot of expenses in New York, you really do learn to cook out of your tiny, tiny kitchen and no dishwasher. So that's truly when I started, coming up with healthy recipes, cooking in that tiny kitchen. But I got engaged and moved back to Columbia. And that's all of that to say, no training. I'm Greek, grew up in a Greek family. So my mom cooked, every night, and I always helped. We put a huge focus on just really eating together. So I think that drives a passion for me in bringing people together through food. But so, moved back to Columbia. I was actually in the process of starting this workout studio that I trained at in New York when this kind of all happened. And I'll kind of give you a brief sum that I was in Columbia. I had just gotten married, had not pursued. I was trying to really figure out what I want to do, whether it be broadcast or whether it be fitness. And I landed on the fitness scene because it's another joy of mine. I was about to sign papers for Talisa Space to start. It was a megaformer studio. And about that time, my sister was a senior here at University of South Carolina, and she was over and I was cooking her dinner, as I did about 4 nights a week. And she was like, why don't you start a food Instagram? And I was just not, super savvy in the whole Instagram game, which is ironic now since it's, 90% of my job. But I was like, do people do that? That's so weird. Why would I start a food Instagram? And she was like, it's a place to put all your recipes. It'll keep it all in one place so you don't have to send it or email it to friends and family, and it's fun. You're not doing anything. So I was like, not a bad idea. So I was cooking all the time. It truly is therapeutic for me. So I was cooking all day, just coming up with different recipes, truly for fun. And so I started taking pictures of them, putting them on Instagram. I mean, if you scroll back to my first, it's honestly comical. And I would just write the recipe in the caption, and I was private for the longest time. So truly it was 15 people. It was like my family would follow and like. And then I actually, to come completely full circle, I was born in Columbia, South Carolina, and a woman who now has 4 kids and is a full-time working mom who used to babysit me texted me and was like, Emilie, I know you're making all this really good food. I don't have time to feed, to cook for my family because I want it to be healthy. And at the time, Columbia just didn't really have much. This was 5-6 years ago. Would you please just give me your extras? I will pay you. Give me your leftovers. And I was like, I mean, sure, I would love to. I'm not doing anything. I'll just make a little extra, put it in containers and drop it off at your house. She lived 5 minutes away. So she truly would put a check under her mat. I would drop it off. She would, take the check, and the next week, the same thing. That was so great. Can you do it again? So it kind of got on that path. I think I did it for about 3 weeks for her. And then she posted one of the meals to Instagram when she was at work. And that next morning, that was kind of a catalyst, because that next morning I had, I think, 5 or 6 emails from other moms who were working moms that were like, and I had just moved here. They're like, oh, hey, I'm not sure who you are, but do you do this for a living? Because we would love to, hear more about it. And I was like, no, don't do this for a living. I'm actually about to open a workout studio, but I'm happy to add you to cook for your family if you really need it. But, that'll be all I, take on. So anyway, it kind of just tumbled through like that. More people found out about it. I think I got to about 15 families out of my small kitchen. And it was slowly turned into a full-time job just because it was only me. So I would go Sunday morning super early to the grocery store. I was like in line when they opened, and I would cook all day Sunday. And then I would plate it all day Monday for them to come pick up. So that's kind of how that all happened. And with that, the Instagram started to grow. And I truly think it was Instagram and timing that helped me to grow my clientele that way. So we were meal prep for a while. It wasn't until I would say I was about 8-9 months into doing this out of my house, and I kind of started to say, like, this really might be something. And I remember very specifically the day that my husband walked in, and it was, 6 o'clock, and there was, I think I had like dropped like the bolognese on the floor, and like it had splattered everywhere. And I just like didn't clean it up because I truly didn't have time. I was making another batch, and he was like, oh my God, like we have got to get you out of this kitchen, and we need a separate space for this. So anyways, the next day, which is what I mean, truly it's all been God timing for me. And the next day, a commercial kitchen announced that they were no longer, it was a French cooking school. It was a chef that had been there for about 20 years. He had moved here from all over. Honestly, he was very talented. He was retiring. So I went with Boyd to check it out. It was in the newspaper. And the next day we had us a commercial kitchen to work out of. And it was a very serious, it was a quick turnaround, but it was just, like, are you going to do this? This is a big investment. Do we want to do this? We obviously at that point, I needed, couldn't have been a sole decision because it took me away for a few years when I was always working. So we did, and I did. And then after that, I remember talking to an intern because it was very lucky that we have the University of South Carolina. There's a huge hospitality management program there, and they all need credits, like 200-hour credits to pass their senior year. So once I opened, I was getting emails from, girls like, hey, I need credit. I would love to intern for you. So immediately I was able to get like 4 or 5 interns, thinking, well, this is great. Now I have help and, all of that. So yeah, it obviously there was a ton of bumps and bruises along the way, but we went from my kitchen to their meal prep there. And I remember saying to these interns, like, I'll never be a walk-in place like this. That's just crazy. Like I could never handle that. We'll just solely always be made to, meaning you order it. We know exactly what we're making. We know exactly how many meals we're putting out. And about 9 months into that, a customer walked in and was like, she's still a customer today. And she was like, it would be so nice if we didn't have to just pick this up on Tuesday and like remember to order. It'd be great if we could just walk in and grab whatever you're making. I think it would be easier for you. And I was like, I think that'd be easier too. literally that night, I was like, well, why not? Let's just, I mean, it was good. I did this in my, mid-20s because I was very naive, but just ordered a grab and go fridge because we were doing pretty well. Ordered a grab and go fridge, popped it into the corner, was announced on Instagram, we're putting our leftovers in the grab and go fridge. And I mean, by 10 a.m. we would be sold out of whatever. And at the time I thought we were putting so much in, and we were putting like 10 of everything in. And then we'd have people, driving in and be like, God, you're out. Like I drove from Lexington, or I drove from Irmo, and I was like, oh my goodness. So that was, kind of spurred the direction of, well, wait, maybe we are onto something with this grab and go. I think we did try, looking back, to do meal prep and grab and go for about 3 weeks. And it was, proven very quickly that that was just too much. 2 different business plans, 2 different prep styles, 2 different menu styles. So we went straight to grab and go. And, here we are with 2 locations now. I'm not sure why we opened one during a pandemic, but we were already kind of 50% through, and with, the business plan and setting everything up when it hit. So towards the, the latter of October of last year, we committed to finishing. So yeah, I say brief sum, but it's not that brief. It's just a lot of different facets. But
so I would think from a business perspective, when you're first starting, you're making X amount of meals, and then obviously you solve your leftover issue. Right. How do you do it now where, it's as efficient as possible, so you're not basically leaving profit or a gross margin on the table?
Correct. So obviously in food, it is impossible to have zero waste, to have, I think that's the toughest thing about food, why a lot of people don't go into it, is it's so unpredictable, especially when you're, relying on who's coming in, you have no idea. So for us, what we do, which is, it helps that every single morning we make things fresh. And that helps us because as the day goes on, if we're running low now on a certain item, we have numbers that we know pretty much work for our crowd coming in and out. If it's 11 o'clock and we're down to 6 salads, okay, we're making 15 more salads. So we can watch the grab and go fridge, since it's not so made to order, meaning, we have a menu and it's whatever, maybe that day 10 people get pizzas and, somewhere else, as opposed to us, we have a set menu every single week that changes. It helps us to be able to kind of guide our way through like that. So in that regard, we have the same menu the entire week, and then we switch. It's just, our team has gotten really good at just knowing, and we actually are open Saturdays. So that has been incredibly helpful as well. We just started doing that because then on Friday we know, okay, like this is exactly what we probably need to make for tomorrow. And then at that point, I prefer to sell out than have too much, if that makes sense.
Sure.
The team has just gotten really good at eyeballing and knowing what we need. We order from our suppliers every single day. So it's not like we're ordering at the beginning of the week, 200 pounds of tomatoes and then being like, well, God, no one really got that tomato dish. It's kind of like we watch it hour by hour.
And are you trying to source locally, or it doesn't matter?
Oh, no. We try to source locally as much as possible. We use, we have 8 different vendors that we use, and same within Greenville. So we try to do that. I mean, that's pretty much all we do. If we're getting anything, like our gluten-free oats and stuff like that, that's not necessarily a produce. We source that from a place called UNFI, which cares about, it really is hard, especially when we started to find like organic, clean, but I care so much. Like we're about to source this bread from California because I can't find gluten-free vegan bread that tastes good anywhere. So I found this one. So anyway, that kind of drives our margins as well, which I hope people see the benefit of that too. I just have a very hard time putting out something that I wouldn't eat. So, we do have to kind of stretch our borders in situations like that.
Sure. So Tyler, how did you find out about Tasty as Fit?
So I went to University of South Carolina. So I was in Columbia for 4 years, and it was the greatest 4 years. And some of my friends still live in Columbia. And then I also go down for football games. And sadly, Tasty as Fit was not open when I was there because I probably would have been there every day. And so I think just like on Instagram, I might have seen it. And so when I went down, I would go and stop in. And so I would always try to make sure I got there by 3 o'clock on Fridays. And so sometimes I missed it. So when I saw that she was open on Saturdays, I was like, this is great. So that's just how I saw, I think, Instagram, and then would stop by. And then I would get enough grab and go items that I could take back to Raleigh with me.
I remember because you would get the smoothies, right?
I would get a smoothie, the kale Caesar salad, the Snicker bites, a couple of those.
Messaging me, and I was like, God, that's such a good idea. She's taking the prep cups and keeping them in her.
Right.
I think you were in a dorm at the time.
Yeah.
That you started.
It was great. And I'd always be like, you need to open a Raleigh, like still come to Raleigh. Like I will fully support that in any way that I can.
I know. I feel like everywhere we go now, like, please come to Knoxville, please. I'm like, God, I wish I could be everywhere. It'd be such a dream.
I know, because there's just not places like you. Like what you're talking like New York, there's so many options. That's why I love like traveling up to New York, going to Butcher's Daughter, Malibu Farm, whatever, just trying different places. And like little by little, I feel like the South is adding. But you are such a specialty that I think we're all craving, even if people don't realize it, but having healthy, easy options. Because I know you said cooking is therapeutic for you. Cooking, I would not say is therapeutic for me. And so if I had that option just to grab something, healthy, nourishing would be great, because I probably go to Whole Foods almost every day and use that as my grab and go. Yeah.
I'm here every day. But you are so not alone in that category. I think most people that do come in too, because it's kind of a catch-22. I do put a lot of recipes online, so I feel like people who do love to cook, are using that as an outlet. People who just can't stand it we have one customer who I adore who's been renovating her kitchen for like a year and a half, and she's in like twice a day.
Yeah.
She's like, why would I cook? Like, great.
It's amazing. So, I know. Your recipes are incredible. I think it's a very kind gift that you do, keeping those up there. And I tell myself, I'm like, I should do that. And I've been telling myself that now for 2 years. So maybe one day. Yeah.
They are intricate. So it's so much easier to just grab it for lunch.
Yeah. My little sister loves cooking, so I'll send her your recipes. I'm like, make this when I'm at the beach. Like,
and I do the same thing.
Yeah.
So how do you come up with new recipes, and how do you taste everything before it's approved?
The recipes?
Well, you come up with recipes, but then for the food that you're selling, are you the final arbiter on whether or not it's good enough to be sold?
So let's see, for about 2.5 years, that was, me in terms of the tasting before everything goes out. It would be 6 a.m. and I would be tasting chickpea salad, bolognese, all the things. And now it's actually super amazing because my kitchen manager was one of those interns in the very beginning. So she has grown with me through through everything. And honestly, the whole team was, for the most part, other than people we're hiring now, were interns, which is just so cool because they watched the business, they watched the recipes, they watched everything kind of grow from infancy to where we are now, which has helped because they were able to be in the kitchen with me all the time, learning and being like, well, what do you think this needs and stuff like that. So now our kitchen manager, when I'm there, she's like, taste this. If I'm not there, she has full capacity to handle that, which is a blessing. And then my sister actually, we're just talking about, runs the Greenville store. So she started this business with me and, cooks every single recipe that I come up with. We go over it, whether it's via Zoom or anything like that, if I'm not there. And so she's she's highly qualified to make all those decisions. But I do come up with all the recipes on my own, which is just, I feel like such a cool facet of our business. Because it truly is like, I would never use a recipe that I don't really love. So sometimes I take 6, 7 tries for me to get something if I've like sparked an idea. Sometimes nail it on the first try. Those are great days. And then I'll, send the recipe to Maggie and Thea, 2 kitchen managers. Maggie's in Columbia, Thea's in Greenville. And we price it out. We see how we can make it work, because everything in our fridge is designed to stay fresh for, 2 to 3 days, some things longer, depending on what it is. So we just always have to keep that in mind. If it's a recipe that we can't do at the store, it's just going on our website for another recipe for people to make. So, you keep all that in mind. And then also you have to hit your margins. So you have to keep that in mind. And plant-based cooking is expensive just with all the nuts, seeds, if you're using a dairy-free cheese that you also want to be not filled with, terrible ingredients. We kind of go above and beyond in that regard. So yeah.
Which I think people appreciate.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Just what I think people appreciate, they trust you, they trust your food. And that's why I think you've seen this growth, especially during the pandemic when there's so much unknown. But if you can trust, and want to support what you're doing, I think that makes such a big difference.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope people are, because sometimes, and I get it, like sometimes you just can't, it's, and I think that we really do though, try so hard to be such, and we compare, I always am comparing prices to other places similar to us and with similar demographics, and we are right there in the middle. So I think we do try so hard. I'm never putting anything out that I'm like, that's just outrageous for, for people to buy, because we have to hit our margins too.
Exactly.
And a lot of things don't, a lot of things just in that plant-based, gluten-free world, not that many restaurants are buying it, which means they have to sell it for a higher price. So there is that kind of dichotomy there, but agreed. I think people appreciate it. I think people who value their health understand. And the ones who can, we always hope to have them in.
Exactly. And it's like you said, like if they just went through a quick grocery stroll and saw how much those products cost,
right,
it makes so much sense. And especially like you have to hit your margins in order to stay open and support and be there for the customers. Right. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I do think, for the 99%, everyone, understands the way that works.
Exactly. Can't make everyone happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's great about the business also is you're giving people a choice. They can, if they're within proximity, they can, or if they can't afford the product, they can make it themselves.
Right. No.
And, because you have those 2 options, do you think one has beget the other? I know you started out, putting recipes online.
Yeah, that's a great question. So recently, we've kind of run into a few instances where, and this has been very recent, where we've had to take off some of our staples. We just were alerted by, honestly, Instagram followers, which is, always a blessing. But just that if there's been some businesses using our recipes for profit. So that was a huge bummer. And, no problem. I think it's incredible. I use people for inspiration all the time. Obviously, no recipe is completely original. That's the way food works. It's been being made for hundreds and hundreds of years. But we have run into certain instances where it's just being, used exactly as is. So we've had to kind of figure that out. And we're in the process of figuring that out. I have removed like staple recipes that are just always in the fridge and left up about 90% of the recipes are still up. So over 200 to choose from, but just the staples just to protect the stores. Obviously, our teams work so hard and we have worked so hard to get to this final product, that to have someone at the very end, take that final product and sell it just was a huge bummer. But it's his business and life, and so we're just kind of pivoting like that.
So when you say staple recipe, what does that mean?
So we just have, if you've been, someone who's followed Tasty as Fit for a while, or you come in often, then, we always have our bolognese. We always have something called chia seed pudding. We always have something called our no chickpea salad. And we always have, I mean, those are pretty much, and we always have our Snickers. And those were the things that we've seen kind of being replicated, I should say. So those were the things that, since we always have those, you know, those are staples to our business. They drive a huge profit for us. So we, just to protect the two stores, we just, you know, decided, not that they don't already have them, but just to avoid future instances,
Right.
I should say.
Yeah.
You know,
So
what-
you also become a victim of your own success over time, right?
yeah, and you know that it happens. I mean, you hear that all the time. Nothing to say, you know. So, anyways, but I hate it because obviously I started this whole brand, I should say, sharing recipes, and I will continue to share recipes, and I've made that super clear to followers. It's just those like 6 that, you know, I have removed, and I know it kind of upset a few people, but it, you know, at the end of the day, it you gotta protect.
Yeah, you got to protect your business. I get it. From a health benefit standpoint, obviously it's plant-based, and obviously you have a background in fitness. Are some of these products that you have more conducive to refueling after a really good workout, or are they more for, I'm sure some of them are also for, you know, just general nutrition where people potentially can lose some weight and what have you. So can you kind of walk through some different products that match, you know, certain categories?
Absolutely. So we did not start out doing smoothies in the beginning for meal prep. It was solely just recipes, you know, that are on the site now, things that are staples. That's kind of how we started. I added in smoothies because through Instagram, at the time, everyone would be like, well, you're making smoothies all the time at home. Like, please add these into the store. And I was like, that's honestly a great idea. Again, one of those naive decisions that rocked us, because smoothies are hard. At the time, we were just so small, adding in all the smoothies I make, which I think we added in 3 in the beginning, and now we're up to like 8, but or more. But that was a process. The smoothies was a process because I'm so picky about consistency and thickness, and I hate a runny smoothie, and I hate an iced down watery smoothie. So that took some trial and error. So I would say the smoothies are an incredible refuel after workouts. That's what I always have done after workouts. Your body don't have to work too hard to digest it. And you're also getting in, you know, more things than you would probably be able to in terms of greens. We always have steamed and frozen zucchini, cauliflower rice, kales in some of the smoothies. You can add it into any. We have like boosters you can add in. So, you know, those things are an incredible refuel after a workout. And then we always have a salad made with, you know, I try really hard to always have organic greens, and whatever the salad is that week, that changes. And then we always have more of like a carb, something that is, you know, that men like to refuel with. Like we have a Thai fried rice that is just a guy staple. And then, you know, sometimes the wives would be like, well, I add in chicken for them, or I add in, you know, whatever. And I'm like, that's amazing. I think a lot of this food is to be catered to whatever works for you. I obviously am a huge proponent of plant-based eating. However, I know that it just doesn't work for some people's bodies. Some people's bodies do better when they're processing other things as well. So I would never preach to someone you have to be on a plant-based diet too, because I actually don't believe that. I believe everybody's body is so different, and you know, digests differently and has different needs. Everybody's gut has different needs, and that's not for me to say what yours needs. I just know that if you do, you know, say you have a 60% plant-based diet, 60 to 80%, then I know it will help. I know it will help you. So, you know, I kind of like to have that philosophy and method, and there's always something for everyone to eat. And then we obviously have our sweets that, you know, we have these things called Snicker bites that are pretty iconic to us, and they're incredible. We make like the little wafer layer. We make our homemade caramel with dates and, you know, coconut milk and stuff like that. And then we dip them in this dairy-free, gluten-free chocolate. So, you know, we have something for your sweet tooth too that's not going to unravel your entire day. So yeah, we kind of just are all over the board with that. But every single thing we put in that fridge has no weird oils. You know, I think a lot of times with healthy places, they can still be using canola oil or, some processed oil just to drive down margins. And, it's because that's the hard part about healthy eating. And so we don't put any of that in there. So everything, nothing, you don't have to think badly or just like, you're not going to feel gross after you eat anything in our fridge. And that's something that I'm pretty proud of.
Tyler, what are some of your favorite products?
The Snicker bites, like right now, I'm like, wow, I really need to get down there and get some. The kale Caesar, incredible. Love the kale Caesar. I've gotten several of their smoothies and the bolognese. And I haven't had the Greek salad because I haven't been down there since, but Greek salads are my favorite. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, it's tough because we do change the menu out every week, which is something that, we love to do. It keeps it fun for the kitchen. And I think it keeps it fun for the customers. But so you do kind of have to hit it whenever, that happens to pop back up on the menu. But everything else you mentioned, that's always there. So
everything I've gotten, it's so good. Yeah.
You need to try the chia seed pudding next. It's honestly to die for.
I do. And I've also gotten the salted cheesecake bites.
Oh, the salted caramel cheesecake.
Yeah. Incredible.
Those are.
Yeah. I actually brought them, like I was staying with one of my friends, and long story short, her fiance ate them all like real quick. And I'm like, see, even guys love all of this. I'm like, it's good, right? Yeah.
I get messages from people all the time. They're like, I have to hide them in our mini fridge because my husband will eat them all and it makes me so mad. He doesn't even appreciate them,
Exactly. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I know I sweets all around, just universally,
Right. Sometimes you just like want a little something, but like you said, like without the processed sugar, the oils, like you want a little something without saying like, why did I just do that? Or I have a headache now, or my stomach is killing me. Yeah.
100%. I think that's why they are our bestseller because, you have one every night and just still feel pretty good.
Right. Exactly.
So based on what you said earlier, and this is kind of a little controversial topic, I guess, but how do you make like the Beyond Meats, how do you make meat taste like meat when it's not meat? And you talked a lot about, added oils and other things. I mean, what's your take on all of that?
So now listen, I don't know how they make, that's at the $50 million, investment there. I'm not sure how they make that meat taste exactly like meat. If I did, we'd probably be talking about something else. But we have something called bolognese that, and we'll have like a chickpea taco meat. And it's usually a blend as is Beyond Meat. Now they use like pea protein and they use, natural they use natural flavors, which no idea what that is, stuff like that. And I'm the first to say I think those things are so great to like if you're at a cookout and they're everyone's making burgers and you want to feel like you can actually grill those, and that's like so cool. And I think it's an incredible thing to have on hand. I wouldn't say that Beyond Meat and what's the other one? Anyway, I wouldn't say that those are necessarily incredibly healthy, even though like every ingredient in there is, doing something good for your body. I wouldn't eat that every single day. But I do think they're a great thing to just like make you feel like you can like go to a bar, go to a grill out and take your own burger and stuff like that and like legit have one without having to make your own veggie patties or anything like that. But for us, we use a lot of, it's like nuts, mushrooms are a huge thing typically in like a vegan meat. And for us, it's just like onions, carrots, celery, mushrooms, walnuts, stuff like that. There's like, we use a ton of like almond flour to help things brown. So there's a ton of different methods, but yeah, Beyond Meat and it's the Impossible Burger. They have definitely gotten them into a great situation with all of those because now they're everywhere. And I think they are, I really do. I think that they're a great addition to people's diets to help feel, like you're not an outsider in that regard, but again, they're probably not the healthiest for you.
Right. So real quick, because it seems like we have to talk about this no matter what. COVID. So you open up your second store, during COVID. Based on your model, though, I would think that was a genius move, at that point in time.
Yeah. So when COVID hit, we had one location. Columbia, and everything was grab and go already. The only thing we had to figure out was curbside service, and how to order online. So we didn't have those capabilities pre-COVID. It was one of the best things we ever did for our business. So we closed down for a week. I have a friend who was like a web developer, which was incredible. Or she just, kind of spearheaded that initiative to add in online ordering for us. So, usually that takes longer than a week to like find someone and, have them integrate that into your site. But we did it pretty quick. And then once we launched online ordering and curbside service, so no one was allowed in the store, we would wear masks going out to, we had trays at the time where we would put food on there, whatever they ordered, walk it to their window, they would have masks on, they'd roll down their window, grab the food, drive away. So yeah, that was incredible for us. I think last year, March, April, I'll say April because we were close to March, May, June were some of our best months that we've ever had, which was crazy. And then as we saw the economy, take a little bit of a dip post that, we felt it for sure. I mean, you just didn't have anyone driving around as much. Most people were having to eat at home. They had their kids home. A huge part of our market is, moms and, working women who maybe have childcare. So, that kind of changed the game in that regard. It's hard to pack up 3 kids, put them in the car to just go grab something when you can then have, most things delivered to your door at that point of like August, September. And then we did start doing a door-to-door delivery up through DoorDash, and that was wonderful. So, but yeah, it was such a hard thing for everyone, COVID. We had our own challenges, just with family and stuff getting it, but just through a sole professional lens, it did help us just drive to be better in terms of service. And that's one thing, that's one silver lining I can take away from it. And as it, I would say, so I gave birth in October and we started construction. I think we started construction October 11th in Greenville, and then I gave birth on October 18th. So
busy week. A little busy week, yeah.
Just a little bit. So yeah, the past, 6 months have been, I'm not going to say easy, but they sure have been fun and just a whirlwind of, we have an incredible team in Greenville. I have an incredible partner in Greenville. My sister runs the kitchen. So it's a family-driven business in Greenville, which has been incredible because I could FaceTime at midnight and be like, hey, like, did y'all get this done? And my sister would be like, yeah, like, so it was, you can't really do that with all employees because that's not respecting their boundaries. But, between her and I, she doesn't need boundaries. So.
You need those. It helps a little, exactly. Because your mind's still running. So it's like, wait, can I wait till 7 or?
And I was dealing with a baby, all day, an infant. Yeah. So night was when I was like, all right, now I got to tune into what's going on. So yeah.
Any thoughts on making baby food?
It's so funny. I get that question all the time. That's I never like to say no because I've said that so many times, and then we're doing things that I would used to say, no, probably not. But the only thing with baby food that just, I think that we could one day have a kids fridge that is more geared toward young children. But in terms of baby food, I feel just liability wise, that scares me a little bit, just dealing with things that are, a little more, dangerous as kids these days, just do have certain crazy allergies that they don't know about yet when you're an infant and just things like that. That scares me a little bit, but never say never.
Yeah. So 5 years from now, what does Tasty Fit look like?
That's a great question. With this business, I think the blessing that it's been for me has been because it's been driven by demand, and I was able to directly communicate with our audience, which I feel like that's one of the just godsends of social media. Obviously, there's some negative things that come from social media, but that truly is one of the best things as a business owner. everything that we have done, everything that we have changed has been because of that direct communication in terms of what do our customers want. So I would have never thought if we would been doing this podcast 2 years ago that we'd have a Greenville store. It just was something that came out of a day by day opportunity and me accepting like, okay, we can do this. So, I'm not going to say I have a plan to open 50 stores in the next 5 years. I certainly think that that's an option. I think one thing that I would love to, that I've kind of started just messing around with is a product line. So that would be a dream too. So, options everywhere. You just got to figure out which one works best for the business. And I would like for more people to have access to Tastiest Fit food without having to walk into our store. So that's just something we're kind of, talking about now. So we'll see. Hopefully next time I can sit here and say we ship internationally.
I love it. And I think
help us up here and carry.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that market is so open right now because so many want that home delivery. And with especially like organic, gluten-free, dairy-free, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but sometimes like healthy, it still has those oils, which you really want to avoid. So I think the market is really open and a great time to join.
So Emily, when we close our podcast, we always ask the guests to come up with 5 takeaways that they can give their audience. So in your case, it could be about food, it could be about working out, it could be about your business in general. And I'll ask Tyler to do the same since she runs a business as well. So I'll let Tyler go first and we'll let you end.
Yeah, so I feel like I always say this one, but I really think this is a foundation for being happy, successful, but working out in the morning is key. And then just really being aware of what you're eating because it makes such a big difference of how you feel. Go outside. The sun is your friend. It sometimes gets a bad rap, but you need nature. You need that vitamin D. Find what makes you happy. So like what ticks, what makes you calm, focused, and then just really incorporate that in your day. And then I would say travel, whether it be 20 minutes away, 2 hours away, but I think a change of scenery is so important for your mind, for your, your goals, your focus, and just that reset that you need to keep going.
Yeah, those are all incredible. It'll be a hard act to follow there. I would say just life takeaways that I've maybe, I say been on this earth for 30 years. Let's see. I feel like one of the questions I get often is, how did you start your business in terms, I think it's more mentally when people ask that question. And I think for someone struggling to start something, I think a lot of times it has to do with fear. Fear of failure, I would say. And I always just, whether talking to a husband or friends or, I'm so glad I did this in my early 20s because, now I have a daughter and more responsibility. And at the time, it's just, if you don't start, then you're never even going to have the option to fail. And I would just rather have the option to fail and have started than to never have started at all. I think we get in our own head so much. So my biggest advice is just start. I'm such a testimony to having started something and having pivoted 1,000 times to make our business, somewhat successful. So start, pivot, listen to people around you, stay in your lane. And that maybe is my second piece of advice is with life, with whether it's professionally, personally, ignore the outside noise there. If you're listening to everyone's opinion all the time, you're never gonna find your way and you're never gonna find your voice. So I think that's, my dad used to tell me that, just keep your head down, keep going in what you think's right. If it's not at the end of the day, we'll change, you'll change, you'll figure it out. So that would be my second piece of advice. And then in terms of diet would be a great thing to add in. I think oftentimes, there's extremes on 2 ends of the spectrum of when you're just taking your eating and your diet too seriously and it's so rigid and it takes the joy out of life. And then the opposite extreme of just not caring. And I think just for me, and honestly, I have been on the extreme side when, when I was just so controlling of I wanted everything to, put in my mouth to be so incredibly healthy. But now it's just such a wonderful balance of eat healthy, be consistent, enjoy whatever you want to enjoy, indulge in whatever you want to indulge in. You feel that, when you feel your best, and finding that middle ground of, eating 80, I guess a lot of people preach 80-20 now. And I think that is an incredible philosophy. It's if you're consistently eating well, whatever that means for you, and then indulging 20% of the time, you are leading a happier life. In terms of more exercise, I think movement is crucial to happiness. I don't think anyone would ever argue that. Not movement that you hate. If you hate a certain workout, stop doing it. That's not doing anything good for you mentally anyway. Find workouts, and I don't even like to say workouts, just find movement that makes you feel great, clears your mind, whether that's walking, running, strength training, HIIT training, Pilates, yoga, anything that zens you out, stick with. And then I don't even know what number I'm on at this point, but
yeah, one more to go.
More to go. Wish I had a zinger here. One more to go. I mean, let's take it back to relationships, because I think that is the most important thing of life. I think that phones, we are so connected. I am so connected at all times. I always have my phone on me, but I think there's just something so important about that COVID did also take away even more so. It's just personal relationships, picking up the phone and calling, having a coffee date, having a dinner date. Just value the people and relationships in your life, because those are the people that will stick with you, all the way, and they will lift you up when you need it. And there are a lot of people who will probably try to tear you down in the process. So value relationships, lean on family and love first. So that's my last.
I love that.
It's been great having you on today, and best of luck with your business. Follow Emilie on Instagram, Tasty as Fit on Instagram, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it.
I'll be down in July, so I'll stop by and fill up a cooler.
Yes, please do.
Yes. Awesome.
We'll tag you and say, listen to this podcast.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
All right. Thanks. You too. Bye.